Hello, my lovely little titans. Welcome to another hangout. I hope you guys had a good week. Mine was pretty good. Give me one sec, guys. Trying to make sure I have my... Because I don't know if Wolf is going to be able to join us today. And usually Wolf tells me if something goes wrong on the stream. So just getting that up so I can keep an eye on it. But how is everybody doing? Hi, Era. Good to see you. Wish I could change. I wish it showed you guys' names. I don't know what happened there. Doing well, doing a drawing of Attack on Titan. Oh, nice. That's awesome. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to join before I dive into my theories that, you know, I decided to post today because they were in my head and I needed to do something with them. Just a few more minutes and then I'll talk about them because I really enjoyed them and I have a lot to say about them that doesn't fit into a video and I don't feel like making a video for them. Yes, I did see your comment earlier. I just Wolf is available to join. Well, awesome. I'm glad you're here, Wolf. Yeah, my week hasn't been too bad. Oh, yay. Little party hats. Love it. All right, so because Wolf is here and Wolf is the one who encouraged me to do this, I'm going to go ahead and discuss my has-been theories. So I'll talk about the first one, which is one that I've talked about before. It's the one about Lilith. So I've had this theory, and I've gone over it with Wolf several times, that I don't think the Lilith we see, the Lilith we know, is actually Lilith. I think it's, and has always been, Eve. Very kind of you, Bryson. But anyway, I think it's always been Eve. I don't think Lilith was ever really part of the equation. I don't, as much as it doesn't make sense, it also does make sense. And it's one of those, how do I explain this? It's like, I've had evidence for it before, but it wouldn't make sense for somebody like Lilith who... Oh, nice, Sarah. Which one? I have two that are at least past chapter 7, so I'm curious to see which one you're reading. But anyway, the whole idea with Lilith wanting to, like, leaving one relationship for another, when really, like, the Lilith that we know in the Bible or in the Torah or whatever you want to call it, in mythology, she doesn't really strike me as the type that would do what this Lilith is doing. like Lilith was all about independence and being her own person, and she doesn't really seek power. But that being said, it would make more sense for it to be Eve. Okay. From 2018. Yeah, that would be the first one. I started that around the same time I started this channel. Okay. Alright, so back to Lilith being Eve and having been Eve all along, or at least having swapped at some point. Like I said, we have a lot of Eve motif in season 2. We see her sitting in kind of a grove that some people have speculated is Eden. We see her sitting with an apple cut up, which we know is, although not technically correct, is what is associated with the Christian story. And on the back of her tree, of her phone, is a tree of life. So, and she does have contact with Charlie and Lucifer. We just know she's ignoring them. So with that, we can kind of go from there, and, you know, she probably is Eve. This one that we are seeing is probably Eve. The Lilith that was originally around probably went off on her own somewhere, because, you know, she probably was tired of being used in God's plan and all that. And I did have this theory before, that what happened was Eve didn't. So they at the beginning of the story, they say that Lucifer and Lilith were banished to hell. Well, technically that's wrong, because the only way to get to hell as a human is to die and be sent to hell. And nowhere did they say that Lilith was killed. So what that tells me is that Lilith didn't go down to hell right away with Lucifer. That's why nothing got done in hell right away until Lilith showed up. It's because she wasn't dead. She wasn't in hell for a while. She was up on earth, living out her own punishment with Adam. She was Eve. It was Eve all along. Lilith was able to leave. Eve did not. Eve had original sin, according to the Catholics, and so she couldn't fulfill that until she died. So she had to live out her life, and yeah. Because again, to get to hell, you banish. You can't really banish human that's living to hell. So they would have to be dead. And again, in season 1, they didn't say anything about Lilith being killed by anybody to get sent down there. So it stands to reason that Lilith, Eve, whomever, was on earth and then died and went to hell and was with Lucifer. I stand by it being Eve because it just makes more sense theologically. Because Lilith was not interested in being part of Christianity at all. Actually, in theology, Lilith is on an island, on a beach, by herself. She's not interested in being part of God's greater plan and all that shit. She wants to be on her own. There's also interpretations that she gives birth to monsters and all this, but I'm going to go with the one that, based on what we've seen and has been, fits more with the lore, which is she was on a beach somewhere, not giving birth to monsters. So, and we did see a beach, and yes, it was kind of the same person to maybe imply it is Lilith, but it's also probably not, because now we see it might be Eve. But again, Lilith leaves. She leaves. She doesn't stay. And I get that they're changing a lot of the lore, but that just seems so different, especially since we don't know anything about Eve. So Eve being a human like Lilith and then being sent to hell makes more sense than being banished. And So, because banished, because think about this. They were banished from the garden, right? They were banished from the garden. And yet Adam somehow ended up in heaven. And we don't have Eve in heaven. So where would Eve go? She didn't go to heaven. Eve went to hell. Why? Because she carried original sin given to her by Lucifer. So Lucifer gave Eve the original sin, and she was cast down from heaven to hell when she died. So that's how Eve became Lilith. They look identical because that is exactly what God intended. Both of them were identical. And that's why when we see the flashback into the story and everything, they look their silhouettes are similar, is because they are the same person. That's why I also implied they could have been swapped at some point. Like, Eve got tired of dealing with hell's bullshit, so she sent Lilith, and Lilith got tired of being banished, or got tired of sitting out, so she wanted to cause trouble, so they swapped. That's a little less likely, but still possible. Just not my favorite theory. I like the idea that it's been Eve all along, and that Lucifer knew, and just nobody ever said anything, because Lilith would strike more fear into the hearts of people. That it's kind of like a Persephone situation, because you have Persephone and Kore, and Kore was her identity in hell with Hades in the underworld, and Persephone was her identity on Earth. So it would stand to reason that Lilith might have the same thing. In hell, she's known as Lilith, and on Earth, she's known as Eve. And it would not suit anybody to know. Hello. And guys, it pops up as your handle, not your username anymore. So if you've been here before, just drop me your how I would know you, because I don't know everybody's ats. I know Era's because Era stayed the same. I know Wolf because I've had to deal with wolves before. I haven't dealt with a lot of everybody else's. Yes, there's a lot of lore, and I know a lot of it because I did some research for this before. I'd made a video, it got deleted, I rage quit and didn't make it. So now I'm just sharing it all here. Another one is like the, oh yeah, I deal with you. I meant dealt with as in having seen it before. I've had to deal with figuring out, like, with yours before, Wolf. But anyway, again, it could be a Persephone situation where she's known as by two different identities, two different groups, but but Lilith, Eve, I'm just gonna call her Lilith because that's what she's known in the show. But when I say Lilith, I'm really referring to my idea that she's Eve. And I think why she left was the exterminate. I think, because now we know that the exterminations have only been going on for about 7 years. They were not a continuous thing. They were a relatively new thing that had only been going on 7 years. 7-8 years. Alistair disappeared for 7-8 years. Lilith disappeared for 7-8 years now. So it's all tied back to the exterminations. So I think that Lilith, hear me out, cut a deal with heaven to get back up there. Because let's be real, Lilith, the actual Lilith, would not want to go to heaven. She didn't want to be part of that anymore. She really did not want to be, theologically, lore-wise, she did not want to be involved. But Eve is very much involved. So what I think it is Eve was banished to hell after she died because of her sins. She built hell. And then I think this is going to sound so fucked up, but I think she cut a deal with heaven to try to push for Lucifer's theory, in a way, about humans. He thought giving humans free will was good. I think, and he could never see on Earth how that worked. He was never able to see how his gift of free will benefited mankind. He only saw how it hurt them by being in hell. So I think Lilith cut a deal to have the exterminations happen, or maybe she implied to them that she would do something unless they let her in, and she gave them permission to the exterminations. But I think she pushed for that to then I think the whole time she was all of her life she was encouraging Charlie that humans can be redeemed. Like, human souls can be redeemed. The souls in hell can be redeemed because humans themselves can, in fact, be redeemed in life and rewarded in death. So she was pushing that agenda on Charlie because Charlie always says this was mom's belief. This was mom's belief. This is her belief. So her belief was that they could be brought back to redemption, no matter how badly they sin, as long as they were true in their intention. So how would anybody know that? How would Lilith know that if Lilith spent all of her time in hell? She wouldn't, because she didn't spend time in hell till after she died, but she spent time on Earth as a human. We don't know how long, but we do know she spent time, but we do know Eve was a human at one point and lived on Earth. After being banished from the Garden of Eden, she lived with Adam and gave him 2 sons, Cain and Abel. And yes, she saw firsthand what happened. She saw that they say the devil influenced it, Cain killing Abel. So Abel was able to ascend. That's why we see Abel in heaven. We don't see Cain, by the way. Cain would be in hell, because that was the deal. If you watch Supernatural, different deal, same theme. But keep in mind, they also didn't kill each other's children. They killed each other's grown men. Like, Cain killed Abel when they were fully grown. So Eve witnessed that. And my feeling of it is she didn't like that. She thought maybe her son could have been redeemed. Instead, he was punished for something he really didn't do. For something that he was kind of influenced to do, like her. She saw that in, which I paused to be here. Oh my God, you can keep it going in the background. Nothing I say isn't more important than Sam and Dean. But she probably saw what happened to her sons on Earth and decided that she needed to change things. So she went down, like, she died, went down to hell and improved things, but she realized being in hell, she couldn't do what she needed to do. She couldn't be the one to help these souls be redeemed because she carried original sin. She's the first sinner. Eve is the first sinner, okay? Which also fits with the lore. So Eve is the first sinner. So she cannot technically redeem others because she herself needs to be redeemed. So who does she get instead? Her daughter, her Nephilim daughter, because Charlie is half angel and half human. Lilith was never a demon. No, I like your theory. Supposed to boys aren't going away. Okay, fair enough. So Charlie's half angel and half human. And she's never been, like, she's in hell, not because she was sent there, but because she lives there. And nothing says that Charlie can't get into heaven. I'm sure Vizzy has said something, but in lore, from what I've seen, there's nothing that says Charlie can't. I know they're like Hellborn can't, but it's like technically she's kind of an outsider on the Hellborn thing because she is half angel and half human. So technically that also means she has a soul, because she was also able to make a deal with Alistair. A binding deal with Alistair. And overlords only deal in souls, really. So you guys notice Alistair only dealt with making a deal. He can make a deal with sinners, and he can make a deal with angels, because he tried to make one with Vaggie. I know Vaggie's name is changing in season 2, but they haven't settled on one, so for accuracy, as far as who I'm referring to, I'm just going to call her Vaggie. But anyway, he tried to make a deal with Vaggie, and she wasn't having it. But he can't make a deal with anything other than something that has a soul, really. So he made the deal with Charlie. So Charlie has a soul. So Charlie can technically be redeemed, but she's never sinned, really. So she's like that outlier, that thing that can be what Lilith needs it to be, and lead the charge of redeeming the other souls. And I think the reason Lilith wanted this is because A, she felt like her son got a raw deal, and B, she wanted Lucifer to see that he was right, that souls aren't, that they aren't worse off for having free will, because that's kind of what heaven was trying to punish him with, is saying, you are the reason these people are here because you gave them this knowledge, you gave them this temptation, you gave them sin. So now you are punished by watching that you're responsible for why these people are being tormented. Now Lilith comes in and she's like, no, my son got a raw deal from you people, my husband's getting a raw deal from you people, so I'm going to use my daughter to fuck you over. And that's kind of what's going on right now, because with how season 1 ended, with them realizing that the hotel does work, Lilith kind of was right, and she really fucked them over. And I know people are like, oh, she's working with Luke, she's doing it. It's like, maybe that was part of the deal, but I don't think she's against heaven, she's against hell. Okay? She stayed out of everything that was going on because she felt confident enough in Charlie's to take on this mission that she's had this whole time. She felt confident that Charlie could do it, but she also knew Charlie couldn't do it if she was around, because, it's one of those things, it's like the hero can't progress in their mission if their mentor is always there to guide them. So Lilith took a step back. Lilith took a major step back and is no longer part of the picture. And that pushed Charlie to further her mother's beliefs and goals in redeeming the sinners of hell. And then inadvertently that got Lucifer out of his funk, because then he realized, hey, my wife might not be here, but I can help our daughter achieve this goal that they both share. And maybe in doing that, I'll be closer to my wife, or I'll be fulfilling something that made her happy. Like, for him, it became a matter of love and wanting to do something for his wife. And for Charlie, it's fulfilling her mother's goal. And now Lilith is watching them both work together to do this thing that she set in motion, that she herself could not fulfill, but now she's watching them fulfill it. And so I think this whole time it was Eve, because, again, Lilith never spent any time on Earth, so why would she want the souls to be redeemed? Lilith never left Eden to be human on Earth. She stayed in Eden until she decided she was done with Adam, and then she left Adam. And then Eve came along, and Eve got knowledge. Eve got original sin. Eve, by this heaven standard, would have been cast down immediately the second she died. That's why Eve's not in heaven. And Abel is because Abel was killed and was sent up to heaven because he had done nothing wrong. Cain murdered, which was a sin, and he was sent to hell. Eve had original sin because she is the one who got everybody kicked out of Eden, and now everybody bore this knowledge of free will, and so she was banished to hell. And Adam, because they saw that he was, I hate saying this, but this is how it's being viewed, is Adam was beguiled by Eve. He was weak-willed and too trusting. So they forgave the fact that he followed her in this sin. And that's why he's in heaven, is he was forgiven because he technically didn't do it. Even though by extension that logic should be given to Abel, because technically Abel didn't do it. Or sorry, not Abel, to Cain, because he technically didn't do it either. But, you know, they pick and choose. It's all shades of gray. But that's my theory on why Lilith has been Eve this whole time, is because it doesn't make any sense that Lilith would have any investment in redeeming souls. Makes 0 to no sense why Lilith would want to be redeeming souls. Eve makes 100% more sense because she has an investment in it. Her eldest son was cast to hell. Her husband, the man she loved, was cast to hell. She watched all these other people get cast to hell for things that probably should have been forgiven, and she saw people go to heaven after being redeemed as a human, basically. Like, she could see that going it that way. Take Adam, for instance. I'm sure once she saw Adam got to heaven and she was sent to hell, she was like, no, this is not fair. But she saw people could be redeemed on earth through their actions and their thoughts and everything. And then she probably was like, well, if their souls could be redeemed on earth, and if their souls were good on earth and they could go to heaven, why can't they get that chance in hell? Why can't they be given that chance to redeem themselves in hell? Because there's nothing saying they couldn't. There's nothing saying they could, but there's nothing saying they couldn't. So she was kind of experimenting here. So she saw the possibility of redemption. But she herself, being a sinner, being someone who had to be redeemed herself, she could not be the one to assist in the redemption. So she essentially ingrained in Charlie this belief that it could happen, and kind of laid out a foundation of, this is how you need to start, this is where we need to go. I don't know every step in between, but that's for you to figure out. No, I'm not doing any traveling. So that's why it had to be Charlie, is because it could never be Eve, because she is a sinner herself and has to be redeemed. But Charlie has never sinned, really. Like, we even watch it. She doesn't do anything that heaven would say is morally wrong. The worst she does is swears, and right now people think she's being a little selfish and bratty, which, you know, part of character arc. It happens. But Charlie is the outlier of the whole thing because she has a human soul, because she's part human and she's part angel, so she has a stronger connection. Yeah, she's the princess of hell, but again, Lucifer was an angel of heaven first, and he's still an angel from what we can see. He still has angelic power. So then Charlie has angelic power. And then Lilith was human, always human, never a demon, really. She never started life as a demon. She was a human who became a sinner. So she's still a human, which, interesting, she kept her human form but got like horns, and that was like it. But I digress. Charlie is a Nephilim by definition, so she's the gray outlier that can do what Lilith can't. So that's why she trained. That's why she was trained to do it. So that is why Lilith is Eve and has always been Eve, is because Lilith had no skin in the redemption game, and Eve had every reason to want people to be redeemed. Now, on to my second theory, which was about Alistair, his deal. So this has a few more spoilers than my explanation about Lilith. My one for Lilith is more based on theology and a couple of hints here and there in the show. The Alistair one deals with some subject matter of the show. So if you don't want it spoiled, leave. If you don't care about spoilers, you've seen them, feel free to stay. But do not start screaming at me in the chat about spoilers. I have given you ample warning. So, at this current moment in the show, Alistair is Vox's prisoner. Okay. Vox Vox and he made a deal. The deal was that if Vox called off his minions and spared Husk and Nifty and promised to not touch Charlie Morningstar, Alistair would go with him on this propaganda parade, as he put it. So, of course, Vox agreed because he sees this as an easy deal. He doesn't care. He's like, okay, I just don't touch 3 people and you're my prisoner for however long this needs to be. Great, doing it. All right. So that's where he's at right now. But we all know Alistair is not one to be sentimental. He didn't do it because Nifty was in danger. He didn't do it because Husk was in danger. No. He did it because he has a plan. And he always has a plan. So back in season 1 at the finale, he wants to get out of his deal because he feels constrained, because he realized in his fight with Adam, he's not as powerful as he thought. He's not the most powerful sinner as he was promised. So he realizes in his current deal, he's constrained. The constraints of my deal surely have a back door. So he figured out the back door. And now he's using it to his advantage. So again, in season 1, he made a deal with Charlie. Exactly, Wolf. Exactly. See, you got it. Yes. Exactly what I was laying down about Lucifer. He never really lost the angelic powers. They just, became a little more hellish. But yes, yes, I was actually thinking that as I was saying it about his powers. Thank you. But anyway, back to Alistair. So in season 1, he made a deal with Charlie. He said, all I want from you is one favor. You don't have to hurt anybody. You will not hurt anybody with this favor. And in exchange, he told her how to kill angels. So Charlie made the deal, and now she owes Alistair a favor. Okay, so keep those 2 things in mind right now. Now we're going to get into really heavy spoiler territory. We learn this season that Alistair's handler, master, whatever you want to call it, is Rosie. It has been all along. Rosie promised Alistair, when he was still a human, that once he came to hell, she would use her power to make him the most powerful sinner in hell. That's what he wanted. It feels like I'm watching film theory. I take that as a huge compliment, Era. Thank you. But anyway, Rosie promised Alistair that he would be the most powerful sinner in hell, right? Okay. If he did a favor for her, favor for ordeal, seems to be a common theme. We don't know what the favor is that Alistair's been told to do. We do know that he has been working since his arrival in hell to fulfill it, but hasn't so far. He was told to go to the hotel by Rosie. He went off the air as the radio demon at Rosie's request. Not because he wanted to, but at Rosie's request. And a lot of what has happened in and he disappeared. He went away at Rosie's request, again, for 7 to 8 years, which again is when the extermination started and when Lilith disappeared. So again, these things are connected. I don't know quite yet how, but they are all connected. But back to the Alistair Rosie deal. So we know Rosie has a lot of power over Alistair. And I think he realized that he's not as powerful. He's not the most powerful sinner in hell like he was promised. But he can't see a way around it because he can't prove it. He proved to himself that he's not that powerful because Adam kicked his ass and left a wound. If he were powerful enough, he wouldn't have to worry about the wound on his chest or the fact that his staff was broken. He would be able to fix it. He had to go to Rosie to ask her to fix it, which she didn't. Because again, she doesn't really care about that. She doesn't care about his power, she cares about her favor. So, obviously Alistair's pissed. But he realizes something. He realizes there's a loophole. He realizes there's kind of a loophole here. because the title of most powerful sinner in hell probably is kind of an official title in a way. If Rosie could promise him something like that, there must be something that qualifies that Alistair hasn't reached yet. So my theory is that now Alistair is going to get in the final confrontation, whatever, whether it's this season or next season, he might be playing the long game here. But he is going to call, when he gets the opportunity, he's going to call in his favor with Charlie. He's going to tell Charlie, I want you to go on television and declare, as the Princess of Hell, that Vox is the most powerful sinner in hell. Okay, keep that in mind. His favor, it was that he was just going to ask her to do something. Nobody was going to get hurt. Nobody gets hurt in a broadcast, okay? So that fulfills that deal. By declaring Vox the most powerful sinner in hell, nullifies Rosie's deal with Alistair, because she promised she would make him the most powerful sinner in hell. And since she didn't fulfill her end of the bargain, and it's been officially declared by the royal family of hell that she did not, that breaks their deal. Because she didn't come through for him. It doesn't matter that he didn't come through for her. The fact that it was proven first that she didn't come through for him breaks the deal. So now he's free from Rosie. All right, what about Vox? Well, Vox is kind of a dick. Vox is kind of a showman. We know he's a cult leader. What I think is going to happen is one of two things. One, he's going to get so excited that Charlie declared him the most powerful sinner in hell that he's going to, run around, act like an idiot, and accidentally bump into her. Or part of the deal that Alistair has with Charlie as the favor is shake Vox's hand. Okay, when he comes, shake his hand. Something like that. Because in his wording to Vox about this deal, he said, do not touch Charlie Morningstar. He didn't say do not harm, do not hurt, do not kill, do not maim. No, he said do not touch her. He never specified what that meant. He never said if it was in regard to like wanting to harm her or just something as simple as shaking her hand. He never said what qualified as a touch. So all he said was don't touch her. Beck. It's vague. Vox should have fucking clued in, but he was too goddamn giddy about it. So either Vox is gonna hit Charlie by accident, just because he's an idiot and not paying attention, or he's gonna shake her hand and touch her, and that breaks Alistair's deal with Vox, because he broke his promise. He said, I will be your prisoner as long as you don't touch her, but now you've touched her, so I'm no longer your prisoner. So in 3 deals, he breaks himself free. He calls in his favor to Charlie. He uses it to break his deal with Rosie. And in doing so, he also breaks his deal with Vox because Vox is an idiot. So he gets out. So all 3 of these get fulfilled or broken. And he's free. He is free without Rosie's constraint. Because we know Rosie has been tamping down on his power. She was the one who gave him power, yes, but she's the one that was in control of it, basically. She was the one that kind of let him have some power, but definitely didn't let him have enough to be called the most powerful sinner in hell. So now he's free to go back to doing what he did best, which was killing overlords, to gain their souls and their power. Because we see Alistair the Almighty Overlord had killed plenty of overlords, had gotten plenty of souls. He had power at one point, now he doesn't. And he only has Husk and Nifty left. We don't know if Nifty is bound by a contract like Husk is. We know Husk is. So he has some power to still make pretty binding deals. We don't know what Nifty's story is yet. She is Japanese, but that's about all we know. But she may be a willing participant, or she may be contracted. Don't know yet. But those are the only two people he has after God knows how long as a powerful overlord killer. Him. So what I think is going to happen is once he's free of Rosie's deal, he's going to get all his power back. He's going to get all the power that those deals and fights and everything got him. And I bet he had to turn them over to Rosie. I bet when they were in his name, but the power went to Rosie. So now Rosie held it all. That's why she was so powerful. And now that the deal's broken, he gets it all back. And now he has what he should have had the whole time. And he's going to be probably a very formidable enemy. And while Vox was declared the most powerful sinner in hell, we're going to realize it really was Alistair the whole time. And we're going to see why. And Alistair's going to go back to doing what he does best. And he's probably going to start with the V's. Let's just be real. He's going to fucking wipe the floor with Vox. Because I think, honestly, he threw the fight. I honestly think he threw the fight with Vox and the V's the first time. I think he used it as a reason for why he disappeared. Because again, it was 7 or 8 years ago. And we know Rosie told him he had to leave. But, you know, he doesn't want to disappear for no reason. Maybe she told him that you need to make it look good. Like, make it look believable of why you'd be gone, because people would notice you gone. We can't really have people noticing you gone. So he probably picked a fight with Vox and the V's and threw the fight. He made it look convincing, but threw the fight, so then it looked like he, you know, left in shame. But he didn't. He left because Rosie told him to, but he just threw the fight to make it look good. So, you know, it would be semi-reasonable for him to be gone like that. So, those are my theories on Lilith being Eve the whole time. And Alistair's ultimate goal is to break all of his deals and fulfill the one with Charlie and get his power back and be the fucking top of the food chain in hell again. So, now that I've laid out my evidence for as rambling as it is, what do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have your own theories about Hasbin or any other shows that we've watched? I mean, we all watch a lot of things. I'm just going to wait and see if you guys come through because it's taking a while. You can see those happening. Again, oh, you agree? Okay, cool. Again, I don't know if it's going to be like exactly that, but I do think it will be, you know, close enough. Or it will be something similar. But I like my idea for how Alistair gets out of it, just because it's sneaky. It's one of those where it's like, I love it when you watch a show and they're doing their deals and shit, and it's like genie wishes and all that. Like, you have to be specific and you have to use the right wording, and otherwise you create loopholes and shit like that. I want Alistair's ultimate power to be exploiting that kind of shit. Like, that just is the best kind of way to do something like this. Instead of just being lame and having them die and then, you know, like with their death ends the contract bullshit. No. Have it be by their own doing. Have them do it themselves. Like, have Vox screw up and not realize he should have listened a little closer to Alistair when he said don't touch her, and then touches her, and then there goes his deal with Alistair. And Rosie's saying, oh, I'll make you the ultimate sinner in hell, and not doing it, so therefore we lose it. The Crowley of has been. Exactly! Exactly, Wolf. That's what we need. That is what Alistair needs to be. Like, he made so many deals in his time in hell. Like, he would be the ultimate person to get out of a situation using a deal. It would just make me so happy if Alistair got out of it being smart and conniving and cunning instead of brute force. Like, that's so overdone. And I think that might be where they're leaning, because if you think about it, like, nothing that was achieved through, like, more violence, basically. Like, the battle at the end of season 1, yeah, it achieved something. Like, it showed angels can be killed. But the ultimate step forward was had by Serpentius, and Serpentius was one sacrifice. And it was through his own actions, not through anything the group did collectively. It was through Serpentius' own actions that they had that step forward in knowing that souls can be redeemed. Okay? So it's the quiet individual steps that, that make the progress in this show. So I don't think anything big is going to be how Alistair gets out of it. I'm really hoping it's something sneaky like that. Like, oh, you should have listened to the wording better, because they don't do anything by accident in this show. Okay? So that's why I'm like, it has to be that. It has to be that that Alistair is going to use all of his deals that he currently has to undo each other and then free him. Okay? Because there's no way in hell he would willingly go to Vox for anything. Oh, I like your ideas, Era. I just read them, sorry. That's what I was doing up here. Just reading them. They sound good. But you need, I mean, if we're being real here, like, Alistair being Crowley would be the best way to do it, because he's a schemer. Yes, exactly. That's it right there. Crowley schemes to get ahead. Alistair schemes to get ahead. They both use deals to their advantage. They both have aspirations of essentially being the ruler of hell. Crowley's a little more successful at it, but that's because in Supernatural, Lucifer didn't really have a game plan set up like this Lucifer and Has-Been does. Yeah, he stepped away, but he also had the 7 deadly sins in place, and he had his daughter and his wife. So, Lucifer had a little bit more of a firm grasp on his throne than the one in Supernatural did. But we saw even in Supernatural, once Lucifer came around, Crowley no longer mattered. So, but I think with Alistair, he's going to, because also, now he knows Lucifer can't touch him. Lucifer can't hurt him, because we learned that Lucifer can't touch and harm sinners. He can't harm them. He can't hurt them. He can't anything them. There is the theory going around that Alistair might end up, because in theology, Lucifer had a torturer that we know in Supernatural, also as the name Alistair. So people are like, oh, what if Alistair teams up with Lucifer, and, in order to hurt Vox, it's Alistair who does it, and basically is Lucifer's executioner, or torturer, whatever you want to call it, like he was in theology. Which, would be cool, but Alistair would have to care. This Alistair would have to care about that. And, no. I don't think Alistair cares enough to want to be part of Lucifer's group. On maybe the off chance that he makes a deal with Lucifer that he gets all the power of the overlords that he tortures in exchange for Lucifer, banishing or punishing whomever he dislikes. Maybe. It's a very slim maybe, because we know Alistair isn't the most willing to work with Lucifer. They can't stand each other. So I don't know if that one's going to come to fruition. It would be interesting if it did. It would be interesting if the first thing he did after he got out of his deals was to then go to Lucifer and make the deal of, I will punish the sinners for you, but you have to let me have their power, kind of thing. That would be the only way I could see it happening, is if he basically got the power and the deal out of the whole thing. That's the only way I could see it happening. Otherwise, yeah, no. Alistair's just going to go for fucking blood and rampage through the Pentagram City, and then it's going to be everybody's problem. Because, let's be real, Alistair is probably not going to be one of those that's redeemed. Okay? Serpentius was redeemed because he was cowardly and he decided finally to not act like a coward. We don't know about anybody else right now who might be redeemed, but yeah, I don't see Alistair willingly redeeming, doing the work towards redemption, when really, yeah. No, I see him sticking around in hell, and I can see him, ruling over it. But if, who's going to be left if Charlie's redemption thing works? He'd be king of nothing. Okay, Era. Neri, Nyx, and Mira. No, I can... Yeah. No, just keep me posted. I like your lore. But those are my theories. We'll see how true they become. I think it'd be interesting to see how right I was. Especially about the Eve one. It's like, how close... Because Eve and Lilith are the most unknown in the universe. But at the same time, it's like, it would make the most sense if it was Eve instead of Lilith, and had been the whole time, and Charlie just didn't know. I think Lucifer obviously would know who his wife was, that his wife was Eve, not Lilith. But I also think she took on the moniker of Lilith as a reason to A, honor the woman who came before her, and B, to separate herself from her identity as Eve and who she is on Earth and what she was punished to do. Because I think part of her punishment for eating the fruit of knowledge was separation from Lucifer, and then having to stay with Adam and making the first humans, the first generation of... That would feel like something they would do. So, okay, if I'm reading this right, and I want to make sure I'm reading this right, it's a Attack on Titan and Game of Thrones crossover. That's interesting. Like, I thought so, but now you're kind of like confirming it for me, so yeah. That would be cool. That actually sounds like an interesting AU era. But we'll see. I think they have 2 episodes left in this season to come out. And who knows what's going to get resolved. Sure as hell is not going to be the Lilith thing. The Lilith thing is probably going to be an ongoing one, because I think they're going up to season 4. And it would be really dumb to reveal everything in season 2 of 4. Revealing everything in season 3 of 4 would make more sense. So maybe we won't get the Lilith thing resolved in season 3, but we might get the Alistair thing resolved in season 2. And we can see that play out in season 3. Then we get the Lilith thing resolved in season 3. And then in season 4, we see the result of all that. And yeah. The interesting part's going to be what they do with Adam, because Adam was an angel who died, technically. So where do angels go when they die? Nobody's really said. I know Wolf will scream in here and go and say they go to the empty, which is what happened in Supernatural, which, if they have a version of that, would be hilarious. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with the fallen angels that died during the battle, and what they're going to do with Adam. Because it would be weird to have him die and it be like permadeath. It's like, wouldn't it make more sense that an angel can just kind of respawn, I guess, if they died an angel? I mean, we know Adam is a terrible person with very loose morals. It's putting it mildly. But he was given status as an angel, so... It's alright, Era. Okay. Very cool, Era. But the empty makes more sense. Yep. I don't know if they have purgatory in here, which, again, would be an interesting thing. I don't know if they have purgatory in Has-Been, which would be interesting. Sorry, it's saying I'm connecting and disconnecting, so I'm seeing if it's gonna stay connected or not. Sorry, just seeing if it's gonna keep saying it. But I think they need to resolve what happened to Adam too, because that would be an interesting implication for the lore. We know they die, but is it permadeath or do they regenerate somewhere? Like, do they respawn? Are they able to or not? True. But I also feel like they made it up because they ran out of places to stick the dying character. Because it's like, how many times can they be sent between heaven and hell before they just give up and stay in one of those places? Like, technically, Dean shouldn't even have been in purgatory because his soul had already been to heaven and hell, so he was slated for one of those. He shouldn't have been to purgatory. Yeah. I mean, again, it depends on which faction of Christianity they're going off. If it's Catholic, yeah, there's purgatory. But I can't see a fallen angel going to purgatory based on the lore that we have. Otherwise, we would have a space in between heaven and hell, and there might be souls there that could be redeemable. Because a lot of people end up in purgatory just because they didn't basically follow God. That's how you end up in purgatory, is you didn't follow the Christian God. But, you know, we know that Adam technically did. So, who knows? Hopefully they resolve that in the show. It was because he's too close and killing. I know. I just feel like... I mean... They just wanted a reason for Dean to go feral for a few episodes. Let's just be real. They just wanted to see what would happen. And so they did. And it was, you know... It was that. Which, you know, we all enjoyed. We all enjoy seeing him go feral. But, anyway... Oh. True. Alright, my lovely little titans, it is that time. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I had an awesome hangout with you guys. Thank you for listening to my theories. I didn't think it would take the whole time, but it did. They didn't need purgatory for that. Yeah. They really didn't, but they needed to, and so that's what we got. But we can talk about more about that offline, Wolf. Because I have thoughts. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me. I had so much fun. I hope you have a good night, great week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everybody.